Hello, world. I am DJ, and today we're going to be talking about routines for neurodivergent entrepreneurs. But before we get into that, routines kind of have this rep, right? Where they are structured, rigid, non negotiable tasks that you schedule into your calendar, you pencil them in, and it's not really forgiving. And that may work for typical minds, but for neurodivergent individuals, that dopamine hit off of the carrot and the stick mentality, it don't cut it. So what do we need as neurodivergent entrepreneurs? I believe that you need pleasure laced incentives, so that way you can guide yourself to things that actually feel good and fill you up throughout your day to be able to do that. But before we get more into the meat and potatoes of this, if you want to go ahead and click the link to my 7-day micro pleasure habit tracker, go ahead and grab that. That's a great place to start. Because let's be real. The carrot and the stick thing really just don't work for many of the neurodivergent people that I know. They either go into hiding and they just go away from the world and hope that nobody ever really notices them, or they just kind of pretend like they're working and they don't really get anything done. When I was in medical school, there were a lot of people who swore that they were studying 12 to 14 hours a day and they just didn't understand why they got the material. Let's be real, okay? The mind and the brain is not really equipped to be able to stare at a screen for that long and actually do something that's productive and moving forward. Now, I'll share with you my routine, but what works for me may not work for you. I tend to be more of a morning person. Some people may be night owls, right? So you just got to kind of understand where your energy is. And one of the best ways that you could achieve that is to run a time audit on yourself. Now, we want to discuss tedious, okay? This is indeed a tedious measure, but it will help you kind of align what you're actually putting your time into, because you'd be amazed by how many people don't have time for A, B, or C, but you realize that you are spending hours a day watching multiple movies, scrolling, whether that's getting you back into shape or whatever it is that you're doing, or just switching from one task to another while you're quote unquote working. For me, the optimal purpose of a routine is to make sure you eat. Okay, it's to make sure your energy, attention, and time is being utilized in the best way possible so that it fuels and fills your cup. So, what about business? For me, I like to wake up early. Okay, I like to get up before everybody in the house has gotten up, because if you got kids or spouse, you know that your time is not always just your time alone, especially with the kids. Okay, so you get up, they immediately want to play, want you to do things, and you're always up and down, up and down, up and down, and that's terrible for focus. So personally, I like to get up, give myself some time to just kind of wander into it, drink some water, stretch, do what I got to do my dues in the bathroom, and then I get to it. So I don't like to eat first thing in the morning, because for me it makes me sleepy. So as soon as I eat, that's a wrap for my morning. I'm ready to take a nap. So I get on the computer, I tell Chatty all the things that I have in my mind and what I want to get done, and in the order that it should help me get it done. And we really think about this thing and we get it out there. Once I get order and I like the order that it's going in, I start to knock these things out. Okay, so I prioritize the tasks that I really enjoy, because I do enjoy the creative arts of the things that I want to do, and I put them, in perspective, and I craft and create them because that fills me up. Then I do a little bit of the tedious, repetitive task, and I break them up into chunks. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go to the gym. Monday, Wednesday. This week, hey, it was Tuesday as well. I go do jujitsu. Because I don't think your routine necessarily should be solely based around work. Because as an entrepreneur, what you do is magnified by who you are. It's not the other way around. Okay, and let's make sure that that is a perspective that we understand and we take all day, every day. Who you are will determine the way in which you serve. So who you are affects the way you do what you do. So we're pouring into our cup. We're finding a few hour blocks of just knocking things out to be efficient and effective, because mastery isn't about being the most busy, checking the most boxes. It's about being efficient and effective. And that's what we want to work on. We want to get into blocks where, hey, this is done for that, this is done for that, this is done for that. And you just do little by little, because I see what happens to a lot of entrepreneurs in the spaces that I'm in is one day they'll work for 14 hours. Then they won't touch it again for 6 days. Then they work again for another 24 hours straight. And they're off for 5 days. That's not sustainable, especially if you have a family and a partner and you want to actually live and enjoy life alongside of that. So by creating a space in which when you wake up, you focus and hit a block of 3 to 4 hours of just solid work time, then you're done. Then you're done. Now find ways to fill your cup. Find ways to be present with the people you love, because for some reason, we all got into the entrepreneur space to be able to have freedom, yet it's so unstructured that you spend a majority of your time behind a screen and you lose the thing you desire to do in the position that you put yourself in. So, first you got to run that time audit. It's boring as hell, but valuable. Because you got to see where your time is going. But you got to be honest. You got to be honest, okay? It don't do no good to lie to yourself, because you're only really screwing yourself over in the end. Then, when you're doing your time audit, figure out when you have the most energy. When are you the most alert, effective, and creative? And schedule your real task around that. Pick days to do tasks, so you're doing tasks of similar natures. That way you're not switching back and forth. Everybody wants to do everything all at one time. But if you're doing emails and then you switch to content creation and then you switch to administrative tasks and writing SOPs and trying to figure it out, you are flipping back and forth and you're not actually doing anything effective or well. So you got to find your flow. You got to get in there and, you got to give yourself some grace, which is the point of just doing a couple hours each day, because that will get you far further than batching your work energy, because it's not sustainable and you're going to burn out. You're going to hate your job and hate what you do, and you're going to hate what you, and that's the opposite of the reason we became entrepreneurs. That is why we left the system to not work for somebody else. But if you're going to be a slave to your business and it's not even going anywhere, what are we doing? So it's all going to start your routines. It's all going to start your ritual. We're going to make it purposeful. We are going to make them fit and flow for you. And they're going to be designed with grace. And they're going to be meant to fill your cup. Because if you're giving from your overflow, your business is going to feel that. Your family is going to feel that. You are going to feel a different energy. And that's what we're all here about at the Pleasure Led Life, is getting in that space between thought, feeling, and action. So you're not running on autopilot, because autopilot for us has been conditioned to be hustle. And we want to get away from that. What fills you up? When does it fill you up? And what do you need to let go? So go ahead, download this micro pleasure tracker, okay, and allow yourself just to watch you grow as you become your priority of your day. Be selfishly selfless and see it blossom. So I encourage you to go ahead and share with me your routine and how that works. And as always, it's been a pleasure. I'll talk to you later.